When you got to go to a Yankees game, didn't matter what time of year it was just electric. The anticipation, the animosity, the excitement, nothing like Yankees Red Sox.
That's the best rivalry in baseball.
From a lot of Red Sox fans, I think you have to go to New York to win a World Series.
American League Championship Series over. Yankees win.
The Yankees-Red Sox rivalry is the most exciting portion of my career that I get to visit year after year after year.
It's being restrained. Both benches have emptied.
You know you're working the Red Sox and the Yankees.
It's never been an easy battle. It's some of the best battles ever. There's a playoff game every time we play them.
Bird hits it to deep left. Might send the Yankees to the World Series. Game 7.
You have to go through those miserable times in sports and the struggles to enjoy the good times.
The Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. For more than 8 decades, the greatest rivalry in sports wasn't much of a rivalry at all. Since Boston last captured a World Series in 1918, and their best player, Babe Ruth, had switched sides, their heated and hated foes from New York had raised 26 championship banners.
Fourth time in 5 years, they are the world champions.
2003 looked to be the year the curse may be reversed. The Red Sox led the Yankees late in Game 7 of the American League Championship Series. They were just 5 outs from the team's first pennant since 1986.
Look to shallow center field, and the Yankees have come all the way back to tie the game at 5.
There was nothing like walking out the field Game 7 when Aaron Boone hit that home run.
That might send the Yankees to the World Series.
Devastating. Tears, all your emotions. But I think the group of guys that we had, 80% of us, it was the same team going in 2004.
We kind of took the loss as kind of a motivating factor.
2003 was a bit of momentum for us. The team was still hungry.
We were so close the year before. We felt like we had the best team around, but we also knew adding a closer was going to help. Adding Kurt Schilling was going to help.
I think in the bigger picture for all of us that stayed and knew what we had, it was very motivating that following year to come back and fulfill a bigger destiny for us.
Knowing how far we had gone in 2003 and how close we had come, we just kind of looked at each other and said, as far as we went that year, let's see if we can go even farther in 2004.
When you looked at where they ended 2003 and what they did to make the team better in 2004, you knew that the potential was there. Then at that point, though, you're still fighting history. You're talking about the curse, and you've got all this talent that's rolled through Boston year after year, decade after decade, and you think, when's it finally going to break through? When's this finally going to happen?
With a few key newcomers added to a motivated core,
Yeah, good with your head. Perfect.
the Red Sox roster was geared to finally break the curse. There was also an off-the-field idea aimed at reversing the team's luck. Bring back Tessie.
2, 3, 4, Tessie! Enough said, McGregor shouted, we're not here to mess around. Boston, we love you, madly hear the crowd roar to your sound.
The Broadway musical ballad was used by the Royal Rooters, the team's loyal fans, to taunt opponents during the first World Series in 1903.
This time we're going to sing Boston instead of Tessie. We recorded the song right across the street, and we had a few of the players come over, Bronson Arroyo, Johnny Damon. It was just like a little bit of a buzz starting to build on this thing.
Man could not be wrong.
The fans stopped singing the song when Ruth was traded, hence 86 years without winning a World Series. So I started to buy into the storyline, and I was telling everybody that would listen. But I was like, I guarantee a World Series.
To get there, however, the Red Sox would need to finally find a way to vault past their storied rivals. They would need a turning point. On the morning of July 23, 2004, the Red Sox were 52-43, a respectable 9 games over 500, but still 8.5 games behind the New York Yankees. The first-place foes arrived in Boston for the first of 3 at Fenway and captured Friday night's series opener after plating the winning run in the 9th inning off closer Keith Folk.
And New York takes game 1 of this 3-game series, 8-7. Their lead now 9.5 games over the Red Sox in the American League East.
The Sox were set to send number 5 starter Bronson Arroyo to the mound on Saturday. The game was scheduled to begin at 3:15, but overnight rain had blanketed Fenway's old field.
On that Saturday morning, all 4 umpires had been looking at the weather because outside it was absolutely horrible. The intensity and the amount of rain that was coming down. And when we got in our car ride to Fenway, the 4 of us were in agreement that it stood a good chance that we weren't going to play.
With the old field, we would actually use drying agent on the grass also because we couldn't get the surface to dry. We would bring in helicopters that would have 175 mile an hour downdraft if it flew 6 to 10 feet off the ground and help basically try to dry the surface. So it was amazing all the things we would do on the old field to get it ready. And certainly that morning was another day where the field was soft on the top and not handling the rain well.
We get undressed and put our sweatshirt on and everything, and then the clubhouse guy brought the weather people in, meaning the grounds crew, and they told us the outlook was extremely poor, and we just have to ride it out.
I mean, everybody was up in the press box just watching the time tick away and wondering if this game was going to start. We were there to do it on national television.
A little after 1 o'clock, there was a lightening up of the rain and everything else. And so I don't know if it was they were going to make a decision at that time or whatever, but I took the crew, the entire crew, we went down the left field line, came out where the scoreboard is, and we went to left center field.
I remember there was discussions, can the field get playable? Safety and playability is everyone's first priority, and we want to get the game in if we can, but it's got to be safe. And there were places out there where there was standing water. And how long would it take the field to drain? And what could we do to get it in?
The discussion was whether we were going to play or not, and we'd have another meeting in an hour to see what we were going to do.
Elsewhere inside Fenway Park, Ken Casey and the Dropkick Murphys were preparing to perform Tessie live for the first time before the game.
Started to be rumors like there might not be a game. It's like, oh, that definitely, for a band waiting for that opportunity. And like I said, for us, you have to understand, like, this wasn't like a cross-promotional marketing idea. It was like we were like legit fans, you know what I mean? So we were like kids in the candy store, just the opportunity to do this. And the thought that it might not happen was definitely a little of a bummer.
An hour after the first meeting, crew chief Bruce Fremming made a second trip to Fenway's outfield.
It's still raining. The rain is incredible yet. And I believe this is the decision-telling time because it certainly doesn't look like we can play ball. The weather's too bad. We're going to call a game. And this is, and I can't give you the exact time, but it's after 2:30, and they wanted to tell the press. So he said, can you give us 15 minutes before you call the game? And I said, absolutely.
I remember the Yankees were told, and we got word from down below, that they were getting dressed, that they were getting out of their uniform into their street clothes and going to the bus And so that was the indication that, well, we may not know officially that this game has been called off, but it sure seems like it has been.
Fremming and his crew were still in the umpire's dressing room when the phone rang.
Terry Francona said, "Bruce, there's been a change in plans." And I said, "Are you in the clubhouse with some club people?" He said, "That would be right."
You know, you had just kind of a bunch of guys just like, what? We're not going to play? No, we're going to go play. So, you know, Veritek and whoever it was had the idea of going to Francona's office. We believed in Bronson Roy. He was very underrated on our team. He was our 5th starter. He was our guy. And we told him we're playing.
That was hands down probably the strangest day of my big league career. We were kind of on a downhill slide. The Yankees were beating us up a little bit. And I remember there was a couple of guys, Millar was definitely one of them, who they wanted to play the game because Kevin Brown was hurt and wasn't going to be pitching that game, and I think we were facing Tanya and Sturtz instead. And so there was this whole kind of gang of veteran guys, and this wouldn't happen on very many teams. But these guys commanded so much respect in that locker room that they could walk into management and say, listen, we need to play this game no matter what. We need to find a way, and we're not going to cancel this thing.
We weren't afraid of the Yankees. I mean, we knew they were a very good team, but because we were struggling, we didn't feel like, you know, we should cancel the game. So what, it's a little cold, a little damp. The captain was in charge. He wanted to get the game going.
Well, I think that it was a collective. We knew what was in front of us. We knew what we had going. We knew what they had available to pitch. And we felt like it was an opportunity for us to start, you know, taking some ground back from them, and we wanted to play.
Our goal and job was to get the field ready. And so the team could go out and play. Both teams could go out and play. And I certainly felt that passion from the Red Sox players.
We went back in the dressing room and we dressed and got ready for the game.
They said game on in like 30 minutes. It was something so ridiculous. I was taking a nap. I mean, you need 30 minutes to get prepared if you're ready to walk out of the clubhouse door. And I was sleeping. So I woke up almost in a stone cold panic. I mean, the only thing I can compare it to, honestly, is like, you know, as a kid, you have these dreams of going to school and you forgetting your clothes or something like that. Just this full-on panic of I'm pitching against the Yankees today, and now they want me to go out there completely unprepared. And so I threw on my uniform as fast as I could.
After a 54-minute rain delay, Bronson Arroyo was set to throw the first pitch at 4:09 p.m. At the time, no one knew what was about to unfold. Red Sox players got their way on July 24, 2004. Despite dire field conditions and the Yankees' assumption the game had officially been postponed, there would be baseball played that afternoon.
A long rain delay, and we were ready to play, and things happen during the course of battle, that's for sure.
Before the game, the Dropkick Murphys debuted their remake of the Royal Rooters ballad, Tessie.
Tessie is the Royal Rooters rally cry. Tessie is the tune they always saw.
We got the chance to play the song, and I'm telling everyone, this is it. Season turns around here. We're going to win a World Series and get back to the seats, and you know, it's just a blowout. And I'm like, it's over before it started.
3 balls, 2 strikes, and reaching for it is Rodriguez. Now getting to the bag is Arroyo, safe.
People that I had been telling, like friends and stuff, were like, yeah, how's that song working out? You're the jinx and all the stuff.
3-2, runner goes. Posada with a base hit into center field, and Rodriguez will end up at third.
The game started at 4:09, following an official 54-minute delay. It took the Yankees less time to grab a lead.
Arroyo in trouble, first and third, nobody out. And Matsui into left center field. That's going to put the Yankees on top. 1 hop off the wall. In to score is Alex Rodriguez. They will hold Posada on an RBI double by Matsui.
I didn't get an opportunity to do half the things I normally would to prepare for a game. I'm down in the bullpen, I'm warming up, and it's like it's game on. Adrenaline is absolutely spiked to the ceiling, and I'm out there in the middle of this game, and I'm not even loose.
The Yankees were up 3-0 in the top of the third when Arroyo faced Alex Rodriguez.
So here you are, you got Bronson Arroyo. He's 112 pounds wet, 6'1", blonde-haired, blue-eyed Cuban young man. Throws about 87 to 90, maybe max.
1 ball, 1 strike.
Alex was a guy who you needed to beat on the inner half, and so I went in there twice. It was like an 87-mile-an-hour sinker, and I hit him on the elbow pad.
Alex Rodriguez is drilled, and
if you don't dominate the inside corner, you're going to get lit up, day in and day out.
And it was one of those, let me show a little bit of my stripes, and he kind of barked out to Bronson. Well, Varitek at that point said, hey, go ahead and take your butt down to first base.
At first, I didn't feel like I had to react, first of all, because I thought it was an off-speed pitch. I didn't think there was intent there.
Just part of the game. He felt he got hit. He was going after Bronson, and yelling at Bronson, and I got in the middle of it. Simple.
It didn't do any damage, but I think he was irritated that he thought maybe there was some intent there. So he said, throw that over the plate. And I was just kind of slowly walking towards him and the umpire to get another ball, and just kind of smiling, and he said, throw that over the plate again. And after he said it the second time, then Varitek basically said something. I couldn't hear exactly what he was saying, but it was along the lines of, just go down to first base and shut your mouth.
You could see Alex saying a few things, but you couldn't see what Tech was saying. So I'm sure it wasn't very pleasant, wasn't very nice, and then erupted into a wrestling match.
here we go. Varitek and A-Rod going at it.
I think the second bad word that was said to Varitek, that's when we went glove to the face. We saw what happened. Varitek tries to go up, picks him up with both legs. He only gets one. And I tried, if you look at the pictures, I tried to break it up with those two. Once, I couldn't do that. Once they went to swing at each other, it was off, and we had 50 players and coaches on the field.
Schilling is right in the middle of it. Now another fight off to the side. Millar is in it. Nixon is in it.
Immediately, I'm really close to the fight. And I can remember thinking, I don't want to get into this fight. I want to let them two go one-on-one at it here for a minute. And then, it's only a split second, and then the dog pile's hitting.
You get that many big guys dancing around. It's, you got to kind of head on the swivel. You got to kind of look out. Nothing against Alex. It was just baseball. It was, the Red Sox and Yankee rivalry.
Something told me that Alex didn't know much about Varitek. You back a dog into a corner, you better be ready to fight.
That's the guy we always look to when we needed someone to speak up and do something, and Jason was definitely there.
We had Tanyan Sturts, we had Trot Nixon, we had Gabe Kapler in the on-deck circle. Now it becomes this is a real fight, and I think that's what made our rivalries, unique, is that we fought a lot.
Some things tip people over the edge at times, and that might have been, because of the series and because of the situation that caused Alex to get pissed off.
So now when that was all over and the umpires got together again, now we're together again, because we had to take names and numbers. It was decided at that time that obviously Varitek and Rodriguez would be ejected, and because the amount of fighting that was going on, we would pick two other players, one from each team, and have them ejected.
When the dust settled, Jason Varitek and Gabe Kapler were tossed for the Red Sox. Alex Rodriguez and Kenny Lofton were gone for the Yankees. But more importantly, the Red Sox still trailed on the scoreboard, and the deficit would grow to 5 runs by the middle of the 6th inning. On July 24, 2004, the Red Sox clubhouse had convinced team officials to play. Their captain had confronted a Yankee All-Star, and the team had chipped away at New York's 9-4 6th inning lead and trailed by just 2 heading into the 9th.
Obviously a long day. A lot of runs being scored on both sides, and finally they take the lead. They have, they're studding the game, and everybody knows what a phenomenal job he has done over and over.
Down 10-8, facing future Hall of Famer Mariano Rivera, Nomar Garciaparra led off the bottom of the 9th with a double.
The 0-2 pitch. Garcia-Parra hits it to left center field. It's down for extra bases.
Nomar came around to score on a one-out Kevin Millar single. Bill Miller followed Millar, representing the winning run.
You know, Billy had already had some success against Mariano, and I just felt like something good was going to happen. You can look into Billy's eyes like, you know what, he had a tremendous amount of confidence at that time. And you know, Mariano, he didn't really have that pinpoint accuracy in that at bat. And all of a sudden it's a 3-1 count.
3 balls and a strike.
And he, you know, throws one of his cutters, but it kind of like it grooved in there.
Driven in the air to deep right field.
I never assume it's gone just because, you know, when you're 5'10", about 185, you don't assume that balls are gone at all, ever.
Back is Sheffield. The Red Sox win it.
And when Billy hit it, you can look at Mariano's head, and he looked straight down and just want to kind of peek at the ball to say, you know, hopefully it's big enough in right field to hold it, but it wasn't.
You know, you just run your butt off, and you once it's over the wall, then you can slow down.
Well, I was in the locker room, and there was a bunch of us in there because the fight had really kind of stirred some stuff up. You know, when Billy Miller hits that home run, I can remember it was the first time during the regular season that guys were so happy and jumping around inside the locker room, not just on the field, for the win, almost as if it was a playoff game.
As far as I was concerned that day, with that mess at the plate when the game ended, and we were there forever. He had the plate, the game was over, and it was an exciting day in our career.
The Red Sox had come back to win 11-10 at Fenway. And while they had only gained a game on the first-place Yankees, the events of July 24th, 2004 were a turning point.
When Bill hit that home run and having Mo on the mound, you know, you finally see almost like this juggernaut finally has a chink in his armor. You know, it just seemed to give us a little bit of hope against one of the greatest closers ever.
You know, that was one of those games where you go back after the game that night and you think, it just feels different in the AL East, and it feels like the Red Sox now have the upper hand.
The Red Sox arrived at Fenway Park the morning of July 24th, 2004, 9.5 games behind the Yankees in the American League East.
Driven in the air to deep right field. Back is Sheffield. The Red Sox win it.
When they left late that night, they were only a game better, still 8.5 games out of first. But something had turned inside Fenway Park's home clubhouse.
It was a game that helped turn around the season, helped us get out of that 500 type of attitude and playing style, and you know, we came together and we played very well.
I think it's the hugest part. First thing that always comes to everybody's mind, I think, is chemistry. You have a clubhouse that would go to war for each other. They would fight if need be.
It was without question probably the biggest regular season game that we had that season.
And it kind of catapulted us to for the last couple months. So you know, sometimes those things, even though you don't exactly look to get in a fight, it was something that we actually needed to kind of get us kick-started.
It definitely created some momentum, and I think we took advantage of that day, and we continued to build as a team and continued to stay competitive and thought more of ourselves about who we were and hoping that possibly you know, we're going to be a lot better in the end, September, October.
It did kind of feel like there was a change that day, and it felt like a little bit of that power struggle that happens every year in the AL East swung toward the Boston Red Sox, and who knew what we had coming for us that October.
On July 24th, 2004, no one could answer that question. But when history occurred a few months later, the impact that summer day had made was clear.
And the Boston Red Sox are the world champions.
We went 2-0 in that day. We won the fight, and we won the game. That was the turning point.